Good afternoon and welcome back to Fiyah, Black Press USA and the National Newspaper Publishers Association's live broadcast. Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, producer, actor, and model Lisa Yaro, I'm sorry, is
Okay,
here.
you're fine.
She's here to discuss some of her new projects, some inspirational stories of success, and who she's worked with. I mean, Will.I.Am, Maya, you name it. She's worked with them, and she's done a lot of acting, a lot of great acting. We love her for it. She's here in the flesh. Lisa Yaro, welcome to Fiyah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's great to be here. Listen, we know I'm going to start right here because maybe a lot of people don't realize it, but you were born in Nigeria.
Yes, I was born in Nigeria. I'm Hausa Fulani, so I was born in the north, in Kaduna, and I was partly raised out there. And then my family and I moved here to the States.
Wow. And I'm going to ask this question to get it out the way. What was it like growing up in a Nigerian household?
It was interesting. It was very strict to say the least, but there was lots of love, lots of laughter. It was for me, I'm the youngest and I'm the only girl. So having 3 older brothers, no sisters, being the youngest, it was like having surveillance 24/7 security around you. So no one can infiltrate the camp. To get to me, they had to go through all of them, my brothers and my parents included. So yeah.
So like you said, it would certainly be someone trying to overthrow the government or something, huh?
Right, exactly right. Good luck. Well, I guess they kind of.
Well, listen, you've done a lot already. You've been in the music business for about a decade. Tell us what you're working on now, because you got a lot of followers on social media and elsewhere. They want to know. We want to know what you're working on, Lisa.
So for those that don't know, I just recently released my latest single called Biko. Being that I'm Nigerian, I wanted to incorporate my culture, the music with, my perspective living in America and also being Nigerian and blending those two worlds together. So my latest single is called Biko. I released that in November, got some amazing response from it. I'm very fortunate that people are receiving it with love because it's a fusion on Afro beats, but with a twist. And my goal with my music is to bridge the gap between, Nigerians and Africans that live in the States and Africans that live in Africa, because we have more common ground than we realize. So, and then I have another song coming out in March with a feature. It's a surprise feature, but I'm very excited about the things that are in the pipeline. So definitely more music is on the way.
So what is that like? I mean, you do modeling, you do acting, you sing, of course. You earned a Grammy nomination. When you go into singing, when you do your modeling, when you do your acting, what is the different approach, if there's a different approach you take to each?
So with music, I think every craft has its own approach. So with music, I come into it being as open and transparent as possible. If there's a message I want to convey, how am I feeling? What message do I want to relay? The songs I want to do are uplifting songs that have positivity in it, feel good music. I want you to walk away with a high vibration after listening to my music. With acting, it's similar, but depending on the character that I play, I want to dive into their background and kind of put myself in their shoes and find that perspective. And with modeling, I'm just like, be like Naomi. So modeling, I just kind of, I just freestyle whatever body movement, I just run with it. But yes.
Yeah. Now it's interesting. You said be like Naomi. Do you generally set a high bar?
I think I just generally set a high bar for myself in anything that I do, because I am a person that I like to challenge myself. I love to grow, and I'm very competitive within myself. Outside of myself, I don't look at competition because I'm running my own race and the point is to get to that finish line. So with me, it's just like always like, okay, you can do better, push, go a little further, go a little harder. So I always just try to keep that competition within myself. But yes, I'm very competitive.
Well, three brothers, I'm sure.
Yes.
Look, you you've had so much success. You have such a huge following on YouTube. You've had such success there. What has changed for you when you, if anything, what has changed getting all of this success? What has changed?
So I think I realized, I saw the first change when I did the record with Maya, amazing soul, love her. Being a part of an album that was Grammy nominated, that changed and opened so many opportunities, so many doors for me that you don't often realize that, these little accolades to some people mean the world, and it was a bittersweet feeling because at one point you're like, oh, that's great. I'm being acknowledged now. And then on the other hand, you're like, now 2 days ago, you weren't acknowledging me, but now I exist, So, I mean, it just comes with the territory. You take it in stride. But definitely even with my YouTube stuff, acting and doing my YouTube series and sketches, I was in Ghana a year and a half ago, and I was having people walk up to me so many times that the people that I were with, my team had to start recording it because I had over 20 people walk up to me randomly and say, hey, are you that girl from YouTube sketches? And are you Lisa? And I'm like, whoa. And it's fascinating to see just how far it travels, and how many people in different parts of the world actually watch your channel. And I'm very honored by that.
So I was watching an old clip with Bernie Mac, right? And Bernie Mac was talking, he was being asked about people, what they expect from him after he's made it and became Bernie Mac. And he said he learned that you don't answer your phone or the door after 9 o'clock because somebody's going to have their hand out. so,
love that. I might have to adopt that quote.
He said, whatever you do, just don't take any calls after 9.
Yeah, I try to make that a practice, though. Yeah, just in general, I think we have to learn to detach sometimes and decompress. After a certain time, I try not to conduct business. I try to, focus on family time, talking to my mom, my brothers, just connecting with people, my friends, because oftentimes, with social media, we just get so lost in the mix of it all. And next thing you look up and you're like, what memories have I created with my loved ones? So I try to always keep business within a certain hour. But that was a practice I had.
Oh, well, fantastic. Very briefly, because I know we want to talk a lot about your music because we're excited about the music. But just briefly, the YouTube, the acting, and I'm really focusing on the YouTube sketches and the parts there. Who comes up with those concepts? Do you contribute, or is it your concept?
So yes, so all the material on my page, my platform, are my concepts that I come up with, ideas that I write out, and vice versa on the platforms that I perform on. But you have times when you come on and you perform with other actors that we all kind of have our own spin, and we're like, okay, well, maybe we should say this, or this isn't what I feel like I would say in this situation. So it's a joint effort. Although either I may come down with a base storyline, the other person may add some perspective to it, and vice versa. They may have a base storyline and I add perspective, and we just kind of blend it. So.
Wow. So in addition to singer, actress, model, we can add comedian too, because those
I'm a comedian.
They absolutely. If you haven't anybody watching haven't seen them, you can't be a planet if you haven't seen them. But you got to check Lisa Yaro out on her YouTube platform. I
appreciate that.
Some great TV to see. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And so when you're recording, we asked this. We've had individuals like Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills, by the way, is performing this week at our midwinter training conference. We're looking forward to that.
Right.
Anybody can register. It's free. www.virtualnpa2021.com. But we've had a lot of musicians, singers, hip hop stars, and we ask this question. We seem to ask this question all the time. When you go into the studio, are you going in there with the idea that I'm going to make a hit, or what's the mindset?
So I think everyone always wants to come into the studio with a positive perspective, and they want to create something that is relatable and people can receive with love. So I never per se come into the studio and say, yeah, I'm going to make a #1 hit. And, because that's such a vague statement, because I mean, you never know when it's going to go #1. You never know what the time frame is. So you never want to put restrictions on yourself. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make some good music. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make some classic records. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make some music that hopefully, impacts and inspires someone. So those are my mental thoughts when I go into the studio. It's more so on that side of, the people listening to it. I want to make something that gives a certain reaction. If you're down, you can come in and listen to the song and it changes your mood, Yeah. So that's my thought process going into the studio. It's all about positive vibes,
Now, I've heard some artists say things like this. This song that I'm making, I don't want my mom to hear. I don't want my child to hear until my child is, Cardi B actually recently, her WAP song, she covers her daughter's ears. When you are doing music, do you think about, say, grandparents or parents, how they might react?
Oh, I definitely do. I definitely, being true to my craft is important to me. But there are a lot of different factors that also go into it for me, because I do have nieces that look up to me, and they love singing my songs. So I'm very mindful of, what I'm singing, because they want to be just like their TT. And I'm like, don't be like me, be better than me. That's always, the outcome I would hope for them. But I do take that into consideration. Even my videos, I'll have a talk with my mom, like, okay, mom, so like, I'll let her see the video, like, okay, so this is the video, just so you know what it looks like, but like the #1 rule in an African household that my parents always tell me, my mom and dad are like, don't embarrass the family name. Like, the family name is everything. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So I think to this day, I still take that into consideration, because, I that's just how I was raised. I can't speak for anyone else. But within my craft, there are other elements that do go into it. So, yeah.
Yes. And so, Lisa Yaro, the model, let's talk a little bit about the model. What inspires you? I know you mentioned Naomi, speaking of Naomi Campbell, I'm sure earlier, but what inspires you when you're modeling?
So here's a funny story for you. So I used to model when I was younger. When I was about 7 years old is when I started modeling. And, back then, before I started, developing and growing, it was an interesting game, because I'm not gonna lie, I was killing the runway. Like, that was my thing. The runway, no one could see me on the runway. And then, like, as time went on, puberty hit, started maturing, and then you started seeing some of the backlash in the sense of, like, you have to be like super skinny in order to, be accepted as a model. And I just, at that point, kind of walked away from it, because I wanted to embrace myself, my body, and not be ashamed or feel like I have to be pressured to lose weight or anything of that nature. So I stepped away from that for many years, but I recently started coming back into it with my music, because we had to do photo shoots and different things. And when I started doing the modeling, they were like, hey, they like curvy models. Like, that's acceptable. I'm like, that's acceptable now? Like, oh, wow. Like, I've been so far away from that world that I didn't realize it. So it's like a beautiful new journey for me to see, like, I can still be my shape and still be accepted. So I'm very, it's new, but hey, I'm open to it. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it takes me.
And the pandemic, again, we've had a lot of artists come on and talk about the pandemic and how it has affected. We know that concerts are out, they can't happen unless it's virtual, of course. What do you miss most about being able to go out live and being able to just have that freedom?
I think I missed the interaction with people that love your music. The last performance I did was at an African award show called Afrima in Dallas, Texas. and it was in front of like 4,500 people. So just, reliving that moment, having interaction with people who appreciate the music, and you can see genuine happiness in their face. I think that's what I miss the most. But I actually started a talent show on my Instagram page, my Instagram Live. So every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I let other artists come on my platform and showcase their talents. Then I give them a shout out on my story, because I know the pandemic has hit hard, and some people who don't even have that opportunity or that platform, I figured, hey, why not pay it forward? And, we're all in it together at the end of the day. So.
Oh, that's interesting. So, and for everyone, can you tell folks your Instagram page?
Yes, it's Instagram at Lisa Yaro, Lisayaro.
And there you go. And the
Come
YouTube
on in. Yes, YouTube is the same thing, Lisa Yaro. And then my Twitter is Miss Lisa Yaro, MSLISAYARO.
Well, there you have it. And
I'll try to keep it simple.
I tell you, you guys got to check out that YouTube page. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
I'm actually posting a new skit tomorrow. My series, Real Toxic Love. I'm dropping episode 8 tomorrow. So it's very relatable. And in the comments, people are so mad at me. And I'm like, it's my character. It's acting. Please remember that. But it's good,
Well, do you run into that a lot, though? People see you and they think you're the character. They treat you as if you're the character.
Yes. And they're like, oh, where's Jelante? I'm like, who? And I'm like, oh, that one sketch with Big Jaw. Okay. Oh, yes. Hi. I'm like, Jelante, who's that? I'm like, what are you talking about? But yes, because some people relate to certain sketches. So they oftentimes take that, and I'm like, hey, it's Lisa Yaro. But I don't mind it. They're,
Are you anything really like sweet. Those characters? Is there any part of
no. I think the part of me that is like some of these characters, the silliness, the goofiness in some of my sketches, I kind of take from characters like Lucille Ball, Jim Carrey, David Alan Grier, like In Living Color. Those are the kind of shows that I love watching reruns of. So my quirky comedy, it stems from that. So I'm not afraid to be silly or, make an ugly face. I just, it's all part of the game.
As I said, you got to add comedian to that long list of.
It's so interesting, because I'm like, I never saw myself as a comedian. I was like, I just like to make people laugh, but I don't know. Someone's like, when are you doing stand-up? I'm like, stand-up? I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. How do we get here? Wait.
I'm telling you, there's a future in that too.
Oh, hey, I'm open to all opportunities. So you never know. You never say never. That's one thing I've learned.
So you mentioned you worked with your work with Maya. Is there anyone that you really would like to work with that you haven't?
Yes, Sade. And I'm gonna throw that out there. I love her music. I grew up listening to it, and just the essence of who she is and what she represents. And she's Nigerian. I'm like, come on now, my Niger sister. So I'm gonna put it out there in the universe. You never know, but Sade, if you're watching, hi, I would love to work with you.
What a talent! What a talent, right? And Lisa, with so many interests in performing assets, is there one that you would choose to continue if you could only focus on one?
So here's the thing. To answer your question, it would be 2. Because
one.
No, but I'm going to tell you why it's 2, because I always grew up on work smarter, not harder mentality, in the sense like play chess. If it's acting, I can still incorporate my music into acting, which I often do. I can put my music in the soundtrack, while I get these acting roles. So I guess it would be acting, but then I would kind of like say, come on, music, come through the back door. So yes, but my music has always been like the thread that I incorporate in my acting. So, if it was one, I would say acting, and then music is like, she's right in there. Okay. She's right in the scenes, in the soundtrack, and the trailer. So yes.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because that seems, you talk to many actors, many singers, and that seems to be that struggle there when that question does come up, because we had Titus Macon from The Rookie on a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And what I did not know was that he's a big time singer. He has his own YouTube channel. It's under
Nice.
Butterfly Ali under a different name, but you know, he talked about that too. Once he made it as an actor, he kind of put music aside, but that's really, it's been tugging at him. So
I feel like it's a yin and a yang, you know, they complement each other because you can't watch a movie without music.
Well, there you go.
You know, some scary scenes aren't so scary without that background instrumental. So, you know, it's a marriage between the two. It's just a matter of who's going to sit in the front seat first.
Well, you know, having brothers, I'm sure you guys have had that fight.
Yes. Look, many times. I always win because I'm the youngest and I'm the only girl.
So you got to use that too, huh?
Yes, I had lots of years to practice.
Hey, do you play any musical instruments?
I play the keyboard by ear. The piano, you know, I'm not the greatest, but you know, I think for me, like I'll hear melodies in my head, and if I can't attack it, I can get somebody else to do it. But I can hold the tune.
Well, I'll tell you what. We know you can hold a tune voice-wise. Can you give us a note or two on something?
Okay. Baby, hold me, pico, 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 pico. Pico, 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 pico. Body day for rodeo.
All right. Wow.
Thank you.
Spontaneity. There's nothing like it, right?
Yes. Gotta love it.
So, Lisa, what was it like the first time you heard your music on the radio or on a streaming service? What was that like for you?
It was awesome. I think the first time I heard my song was when I was in Nigeria, and we were riding in the car, and I was like, "Oh wow!" We stopped, recorded it. It felt good. You know, when you work hard, it's always, you know, a nice pat on the back to know that all your hard work pays off. So it was a surreal feeling, but then I was like, okay, on to the next. You know, you never want to sit in that feeling too long because then you get comfortable. So
were you surprised? Were you expecting to hear it? Or was it something that you just ran into, you were somewhere and it just happened?
I was surprised, you know, because they're like, oh yeah, your song's playing on the radio. You know, when people tell you like, oh, that's great, you know, but then when you hear it, you're like, oh, my song's playing on the radio. You know, they're like, I told you it was. Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, I didn't know, you know, I knew, but I didn't know. Right. So yeah, it's a great surprise that, you know, every single time, you know, it feels like the first time.
Okay. So you still get that feeling even now. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So, does that act as a motivator to record even more?
Yes, because I see that people are receptive to the music, and you know they actually like what I'm putting out. So it does give me that extra motivation to give people more music and show more of myself.
Wow. Yeah. So and again, you mentioned Sade, obviously, and we would certainly buy that record for sure. Mm-hmm. You and Sade.
Well, thank you. You hear that, Sade? Have your people call my people.
See, there, I keep telling comedian.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else you could see just doing a duet with, you know, Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell type, you know, just going at it?
You know, I haven't really thought of anyone outside of Sade because I just kind of, you know, God works in mysterious ways, so I'm trying to put all my energy into that. But I'm just open to any collab with, you know, any amazing artist that wants to join forces and, you know, kind of put a stamp on different perspectives, you know, from either the R&B side mixed with Afro beats, because Afro beats is slowly making its way to the States where it's big in the UK and it's big in Africa. I'm glad to see that people are starting to recognize it and acknowledge it and give it the respect that it, you know, it deserves. So
yeah, it's oftentimes we hear about from an acting standpoint, and I guess from a musical standpoint, I know I've heard this too. Roles have been offered that an actor has turned down. Mm-hmm. Songs have been offered that a singer or a musician has turned down. Mm-hmm. Have you faced that yet, where you've had to turn something down because you just felt like it wasn't a fit?
Oh yes. Well, with music, I go in and, you know, work on the song from the ground up. But as far as with acting, absolutely. You know, like there've been scripts where I've read, I'm like, I can't do that. Like, what? There's no way, Bob. Sorry. You know, and, you know, it's either it's a big role or not. You know, there are just certain things that within myself that I'm like, okay, that's not a good fit for me, you know. And the reason why one of my favorite actors is Denzel Washington, because he also spoke on having to turn down various roles when he first started, that people were telling him like, why are you turning this down? You're insane. He's like, I'm thinking about the longevity of my career. And I'm thinking about, you know, 5 years, 10 years from now, I don't want to look back and regret a role that I did because that did not suit me. So I kind of take from him in that sense.
Yeah. And has this happened to you? I was looking at recently, I saw an interview with Terry Vaughn, J. Vaughn, who played Levita Alize Jenkins on the Steve Harvey show. About her career, but she mentioned how she'd walk into an audition early on before she became Levita. She walked into an audition and there was Nia Long every time it was Nia Long, and she knew she wasn't getting have you ever walked into an audition and there was this already established actor and you say, well, you know what, I just know I'm not getting this?
I've walked into countless rooms where there have been like, you know, amazing actors, but I've never thought like, oh no, I'm not getting this, because right there is your sign of defeat, you know, and what you're feeding yourself is what's going to manifest. So I'm a firm believer on, you know, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the best that I can and I'm going to give it my all. I'm not worried about anybody else and what they're doing, you know, because if I start focusing on someone else's race, then I'm taking away from mine. So I'm not going anywhere with that. So I always go in the room and I'm like, hey, tunnel vision, I'm in here to kill it. Let's go, you know, respectfully. But yeah, that's just kind of how I take that on.
And how important is that, Lisa, that power of positive thinking?
It's very important because, you know, you have to be your biggest fan. You have to be your biggest supporter, because the world is filled with critics and people who are naysayers and ready to tear you down. Why add to that? So it's very important what you feed your mind and how your thoughts, you know, transpire. And I always say, like, feed your subconscious, because you are planting those seeds that are eventually going to grow and sprout into your conscious. So I'm very aware of the words that come out of my mouth. And, you know, I try to speak life into my life. So that's just me.
Yeah. So let's look ahead if we can. Let's get past the pandemic. Let's as we say, positive, right? So the pandemic is over, right? What is Lisa Yaro? What's the first thing Lisa Yaro is doing?
The first thing Lisa Yaro is going to do is go on tour. Yes, I want to go on tour and, you know, just kind of connect and see the different people that have been supporting my music. You know, I feel like the pandemic has shown people, you know, what not to take for granted. And just human interaction is just one thing that we oftentimes take for granted. You know, I'm an introvert at heart, but even I'm like, man, you know, I wish I could see my friends, you know, like, so definitely wanting to interact and seeing fans, you know, like in a large setting. Because I don't know, some people didn't get the memo that the pandemic isn't over. You know, they think outside is wide open. And I'm like, okay, you got Rona just dancing in there with them. And I'm like, I'll sit this out. But stay safe.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, did you hear of Zoom before the pandemic?
You know what's so crazy? Okay, so I heard of Zoom, but it was all about Skype. You know, that was what I would normally hear. You know, Zoom was a conversation, but now it was like Zoom in, Zoom that, Zoom me. I'm like, Zoom, what? Hold on. I need to download the app first. Like, okay, so Zoom took over. Zoom won this pandemic.
Zoom won the pandemic.
Zoom definitely won.
And are you zoomed out? Are you tired?
I'm zoomed out, honey. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm not zoomed out because, you know, it is a form of interaction with other people. So I am appreciative that Zoom and Skype and these platforms were able to still connect with one another.
Yeah. And Yaro, what is the next? We talked about what you're working on single wise. Album anytime soon, a full album?
Yes, actually, my team and I were just having this conversation. So we are looking to having my full album in June. So I'm very, very excited about that. So June album is what we are currently looking towards. And I know a lot of people have been asking, where's the album? Where's the album? I was like, oh, Lord, hold on. Just go ahead and marinate on the single first. Why don't you? You know, the record's already cut. Yeah. So I went to Nigeria and spent a month out there and recorded these new records. So I'm very excited to share them with everyone.
Oh, so you went home to record.
I had to. Come on now, you have to go home. I had to go home and get rooted, and you know the songs were genuine, and I think that was the number one thing that I wanted to do, was make sure that I recorded them at home.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot before we let you go.
Uh-oh.
What is this? When that album drops, you coming back to see us?
Oh, you know it. I'm hot off the press. I'm running right towards here.
All right. The Black Press is going to receive you with open arms, girl.
Oh, good. Don't make me cry. I really appreciate it.
You know, we appreciate you. You keep up the great work. We're looking forward to hearing more music from Lisa Yaro. And certainly, we're certainly looking forward to more YouTube sketches, that's for sure.
Yes. Like I said, check out my YouTube, Lisa Yaro. I'm dropping a new sketch on Thursday. I'm dropping new sketches every Monday and Thursdays from now on. So be on the lookout for that.
And finally, where can they get the music?
So they can get the music on all streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, and you know, even if you're borrowing your friend's Spotify, go ahead and stream the song. They won't mind. And then the music video, you can find it on my YouTube, Lisa Yaro.
Lisa Yaro, thank you so much for taking out the time today. We really appreciate you. And everybody, check her out. Check out her social media pages. It's as simple as Lisa Yaro.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
All right. Everybody stay safe and stay well. Wear a mask. Wash your hands.
Yes, wash your hands.
Sing
a song while you're washing. Okay.
There you go. Exactly. Listen to Lisa, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.